The slope is steep beneath my boots, stones slick with dew and petals. Lanterns sway in the midnight breeze. Each archway I cross feels older than the last, and I catch the faintest sweetness of cherry incense drifting through cold mist. Each breath a mix of memory and unknown. A monk sweeping the path stops mid-motion, gaze unreadable. He murmurs, "We weren't expecting anyone tonight." Another, older monk angles his head toward me, his chant trailing away. "The mountain waits for reasons we rarely see," he offers, tone gentle but edged with curiosity. The others line the walkway, robes like shadows, silence heavy between them. Narration tightens. It's not fear or welcome in their faces, something closer to recognition, as though the shrine itself knows what I've brought, even if I do not. My hands steady on the satchel's strap, I smile, uncertain. It's my first visit. The city feels endless tonight. The monks nod, sharing glances I can't translate. The youngest gestures me forward, voice soft. "Tonight isn't an ordinary night anymore, is it?" I shake my head, caught by the distant creak of a bell rope left unmoved, the sound thrumming in my bones. Another monk steps forward, her fingers tight around a carved bead. Few cross the gate after sunset. Fewer still draw silence. An old gardener on the porch pauses, glances at the sky. "Petals fall so late in the season," he muses, brushing one from his sleeve. "Are you drawn by longing or led by need?" I pause, words caught between confession and caution. I think I'm looking for a sign, or maybe a place to set down questions. Someone in the back laughs gently. Most come for answers, but it's the lost questions we remember longest. As the Tory arch frames my silhouette, the wind shifts, incense curling with the mist. For a heartbeat, it almost sounds like a distant bell might ring, but no echo follows, just the silence stretching sweet and sharp to the very roots of the shrine. I cross the final threshold, watched by shadows and lantern light, heart pounding with the promise that tonight, every step forward will shake the world awake. Moonlight drapes the shrine in silver as monks gather beneath the bell tower, faces grave. The head monk stands before the brass bell, staff in hand. He lifts one finger, just one, and every hand freezes mid-motion. The bell ringer's rope swings, then stills, untouched. "I decree silence," the head monk intones, voice low yet firm. "Tonight, the bells will not speak." His eyes find mine, steady, ancient, full of something tense. The monks exchange glances, unease flickering between discipline and disbelief. A novice, barely 16, falters, eyes wide. "But Master, the bell is protection. The night, it listens for its song." An elder touches his shoulder, voice barely a whisper. "Trust the silence, child. Sometimes protection lies not in the sound, but in what's withheld." The head monk holds the cane high. "The world has shifted in your presence. Ritual must bend." He gestures for me to step closer, moonlight glancing off the unused brass behind him. Let no bell mark this night. Let every heart keep its own time. I step forward, feeling a sudden hush, deeper than discipline, older than memory, settle over the courtyard. Lanterns flicker, picking out the tension on every brow. For a moment, I wonder if the silence is a blessing or a warning. A breeze stirs the bell, but it does not ring. Only shadows move, falling delicate and long over the altar stones. Each monk presses their hands together, some fearful, some hopeful. One mouths a silent prayer to the indigo sky. I take a breath, the weight of expectation thick in the air. The head monk's eyes linger on mine, unblinking. Let the world witness how the spirit stirs when there is no clamor to answer. in that uncanny pause. Every story in the shrine feels as if it's holding its breath, waiting, not for the clang of metal, but for what only quiet can reveal. The oil lamps along the corridor flicker, throwing wild shadows as a monk guides me deeper into the heart of the shrine. The only sound is the soft brush of woolen sleeves and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Every carved threshold I cross glows faintly in the candle-blue dark, revealing lotus tiles underfoot, each one catching the glow and passing it on. "This way," murmurs the monk, voice steady but distant. His palm rests briefly on a stone marked with old script. The walls seem closer with every turn, air thickening. A second monk falls into step beside us. Her gaze lingers on my face, searching for resolve. "Feel the pull?" she whispers, not waiting for my answer. I nod, nerves raw, my breath mists in the cold. Why does it feel like every step is being counted? The first monk smiles, unexpected warmth in his eyes. Thresholds don't just divide, they invite. Tonight the shrine tests intention. Most wanderers never reach this far. You, he gestures at the lotus tiles glowing beneath me, bring a different question. We pause at an arch laced with silver cord, shimmering softly like a breath drawn in hope. The corridor opens up. Statues circle us, their eyes half closed as if weighing my worth. The path narrows, and I sense a gentle pressure in my chest, a tangle of doubt and fragile courage. The monks lead me toward a wooden door carved with faded sigils. "Beyond here, no one speaks," one says quietly. "If you lose your purpose, you must turn back." The silence thickens until even the air listens. My hand brushes the silver cord trailing behind, comfort and connection in this strange in-between. A younger monk bows, offering a basin of clear water, the surface trembling. "Step carefully," he advises, "for what is tested in silence becomes truth in mourning." The words settle over me, soft, solemn, entirely real. As I move forward, the line between visitor and supplicant blurs. Symbols on stone shimmer ever so slightly, the way moonlight changes a landscape. I realize I am not just being watched, I'm being understood. At the threshold to the sanctuary, I pause, courage braided with uncertainty. I take one more step forward, feeling every eye, mortal and otherwise, upon me. The lotus tiles pulse, and the cold, charged air clings tight, promising that each new crossing matters more than any destination. A secret staircase leads us beneath the shrine, candle flames flickering as I move past shelves heavy with ancient scrolls and lacquered boxes. The lorekeeper, an elderly monk with eyes bright as winter stars, motions for me to sit beside an open scroll. "You wonder why we silence the bells tonight," he says, voice echoing in the stone alcove. "It is not fear. The bell rings to draw lines between what belongs to the living and what walks with memory." He unwinds a scroll sequined with gold leaf, the script curling like rivers. Every bell stroke marks the crossing of time, morning to dusk, season to season, life to afterlife. When we break that rhythm, nothing shields the boundary. You, his finger traces a symbol as old as night. Bring a question that turns tradition inside out. I feel the old bell ropes beneath my palm, coiled, dusted in red silk, like sleeping serpents. The lorekeeper speaks, words heavy and tender. The world does not easily forgive broken patterns. Yet sometimes, to truly protect, we must dare to let all become still. In silence, truth emerges, but so do all the things kept at bay by clang and chant. My thoughts tangle. If silence is risk, the loss of what guards us. How can it ever be the answer? I ask, uncertainty rising with each echo in the dim room. He smiles gently, sadness touching his mouth. Because protection is not always noise and barrier. Sometimes it is the space to listen, to witness what rings clearer when nothing is struck. Tonight, you stand inside a story most never sense, the poem written by unspoken prayers. I sense the air change, an old current moving from the coiled bell ropes to the scroll glowing beside him. Shadows ripple over the stone, responding to questions I've yet to form. The lorekeeper rolls the scroll closed, gaze searching mine. You have become part of our pattern now. The bells will not ring, and what comes in this hush may be both gift and warning. For a moment, everything in the shrine holds, monks, relics, even the night itself. I leave the archive, feeling the wisdom and weight of silence. On the threshold, the door sighs closed behind me, and a cold shiver runs down my spine. A story still unfolding in the language of stillness. Have you ever broken a tradition and felt the world shift? Share your story below. Night has deepened, and the shrine barely seems to breathe. No wind, only the living hush. I step outside, feeling the silence press in, every shadow sharper, every color colder. The crimson banner at the gateway snaps suddenly, then settles. I turn, startled by a fox's call slicing through the quiet, its cry spiraling upward before vanishing into the bamboo. A monk glides past, robes swishing. Sometimes, silence carries omens, he murmurs, eyes narrowed as he scans the moonlit courtyard. The statues along the walkway seem to lean forward, faces softening in the wavering light, as if listening for a forgotten word. I catch movement, a flicker of shadow along the corridor wall, gone as quickly as it appeared. Narration deepens as I pause beneath the old frescoes, their paint nearly worn away. In places, the lime wash has faded to reveal ancestral glyphs, faint pulses moving blue and gold beneath my fingertips. The head monk joins me then, his staff gripped tighter. When the bells are stilled, he says quietly, the world listens differently. Spirits grow bold, guidance or warning, none can say until morning. His gaze lingers on my hand as I touch a symbol now glowing faintly, warmth rising through my skin. Closer, the wind lifts my sleeve, pulling it sharply as if warning me to pause. I meet the eyes of an elder statue, stone fox's tail curled at its feet, and for a heartbeat, it almost seems to shift, muscle flickering under moonlight. The younger monk whispers, stepping to my side, "Your presence stirs all that's hidden. Watch for what only silence will show." The banners ripple, their shadows surging in patterns across the cobbles, shapes of birds, ropes, and circular signs I almost recognize. My heart thuds, each beat echoing unanswered questions. The pause lengthens, charged with promise and unease. Tonight, as the shrine stands without bells, omens multiply, inviting not just fear, but also the hope that what gathers might be a sign worth heeding, a story not for one, but for the world still waking to mystery's call. The air inside the sanctum is thick, each relic rimmed with shadow, every candle's flame unsteady. 2 monks lead me to the center, their footsteps echoing in the hush. I take my place on a mat surrounded by ritual objects, a black obsidian bowl filled with still water, a pale stone mask, a staff capped with silver feathers. The oldest monk's hands hover over the bowl. "Look," he says, "doubt brings no danger here, only discovery." He glances at the second monk, a young woman whose voice is steady. The test is not a contest of strength, but of presence, she explains, tracing her fingers over the staff. I meet her gaze, my apprehension met with kindness. Breathe and watch, she says, setting the mask before me. Speak nothing that isn't true. I kneel, and the relics are presented one by one. The obsidian bowl, cool to the touch, reflects the high window's starlight, but not my face. What do you seek most? The old monk asks softly. I hesitate, then whisper, belonging. To know my question matters. Ripples move through the water, glimmering gold, then still. Next, he passes me the feathered staff. What storms have marked you? The feathers tremble at my answer. Losing my father, forgetting his voice each year, and wanting to remember more than I should. The young monk's hand flutters over the staff, eyes shining. Courage is sometimes loss carried well. Finally, the stone mask is placed in my hands. Its inside is warm, breath held within. Name a fear, the old monk prompts. I swallow. That if I'm chosen, I will fail, not just for myself, but for all waiting outside. Narration threads in as I exhale. The silence swallows every word, yet none feels unwelcome. The monks share a glance, more knowing than before. Each relic returns to its place. The starlight gentler now, a little more forgiving. One last gesture. The young monk dips her own finger in the bowl, sending out a second ripple. You came seeking a sign. You found your reflection, even if water refused to show it. The tension softens, trials for tonight complete. But as I rise, I sense that the real journey, what comes next, beyond ritual, has only begun. A hush tighter than prayer fills the inner sanctum. Candlelight wavers as I settle, tension riding every shallow breath. The monks form a loose circle, some faces open, some masked by shadow. My fingers rest atop my knees, palms warm from the relic's trial. Silence builds, settling in layers, so thick that every stray memory aches to surface. The oldest monk's eyes close. In the stillness, a breeze stirs at the high window, carrying a scent I almost recognize. Orange blossom, sandalwood, the sweetness of a childhood lost to time. Without warning, images rush back. The crackle of summer rain in a garden of bells. A woman's voice whispering in 3 languages, each phrase a warning, each tone a different comfort. For an instant, I see a much younger version of myself chasing petals along shrine steps, laughter mingled with a bell's deep song, until the notes shift, twist, and become a plea. Remember for me. Remember for us all. A pulse of blue light ripples beneath the dust on the altar stone. Statues bend their shadows towards me, features warping into half-familiar shapes. My mouth opens, words nearly on the edge of language. I've been here before, I murmur, startled by the certainty in my voice. Someone called, told me to wait for the bells to fall silent, but I never remembered the rest. A young monk gasps quietly, watching as reflections spiral in the obsidian bowl. The head monk's eyes soften. His hands loosen their fierce grip on the staff. Every question, when spoken in silence, wakes something old, sometimes sorrow, sometimes kin. His words trail, trembling with a kind of hope. Narration moves under the scene. The air itself charges, the silence shifting from comfort to revelation. I feel an ache, longing and relief twined. The relics at my feet shimmer, echoes flickering as though the night itself is breaking open to let memory flood through. I turn my gaze from carved wall to the soft blue glyph that has begun to flicker across the floor, a sign left by generations past. now answering me in the hush the bells abandoned. My own voice feels strange and new as I breathe. I think this is what the shrine wanted. Not answers, but memory, promised and returned. One by one, the monks bow their heads, the movement slow and solemn. The youngest among them presses his palm to the stone near my knee, whispering, "The old questions always come back when the bells rest." This is how tradition learns to remember. The candle flame flutters green, then gold. I close my eyes, memory and silence holding me in a fragile peace. Shadows twisted not in fear, but readiness, as if whatever happens next is less important than the courage it took to let the silence break. A hush still sits over the sanctuary, but word has already crossed borders. The silence of the shrine, the bell's arrest, beckons other seekers to its door. At dawn's first blush, a procession approaches. A Sufi wanderer, his steps traced by the soft jingle of camel bells, beads woven through copper threads. Beside him, an African diviner moves gently, fingertips brushing a pouch filled with smooth stones and chalked sigils. Close behind, a Lakota healer enters, carrying a drum painted in circles, her gaze clear as sunrise on river ice. The head monk stands on the wooden steps, staff grounded, measuring these arrivals with patience. "Why do you come?" he asks, voice calm, missing none of the tension beneath. The Sufi bows, eyes alight with respect. "The world's hush called me. I dreamed of a bell unmoving, a mountain singing in silence. So I came." The diviner nods, touching the ground. "When rites change, so do the veils between worlds." He murmurs, "We saw you in the fire, your silent shrine reflecting thunder not heard, only felt." The Lakota healer speaks last, her drum catching the morning's first golden rays. When silence falls, wisdom crosses oceans. We are drawn to lend our gifts and learn what yours reveal. Each quiet gathering is a chance to begin again. She beats her drum, soft, steady, a rhythm that seems to fold the mountain's own pulse into their welcome. Narration swells with wonder. The monks form a new ring, widening the circle to include these protectors from afar. Each one lays a small offering on the altar, a string of beads, a feather dusted with sage, a stone inscribed with old hope, a painted shell. In this blend of traditions, ritual transforms, songless, yet vibrant. The Sufi hums an old tune under his breath. The diviner scatters white powder in careful arcs. The healer's drumbeat rolls up to the rafters. For a moment, language falters. Only gesture, prayer, and the meeting of eyes connect across cultures. Narration tightens. In this convergence, each protector's approach is distinctly their own. Camel bells mingling with threadbare prayer flags, painted drumbeat rolling deep into the mountain's bones. The shrine's power is no longer held by one tradition alone, but expanded, wire-strong, world-spanning, shared and richer for it. The monks watch, moved and wary. The air is alive with both welcome and challenge. You sense it too. Every world's lesson, every healer's hope, threading into your own path through the quiet. The journey now layered with resilience, drawn from places you never thought you'd touch. As the sun crests the ridge, silence itself feels stronger, enduring, no longer empty, but brimming with the promise and risk of what happens whenever protectors gather, far from home, in reverence for an awakening greater than their own. A circle of elders and visiting protectors forms around the carved floor, the air charged and expectant. I stand at the very center, lotus sigils pulsing rose gold beneath my feet. The head monk's gaze weighs heavy. He speaks, voice even but layered with worry. The shrine's tradition, the world's omen, and these new travelers all mingle tonight. Someone must bear the burden. Do you accept the path set before you? The Sufi wanderer bows, threading beads between his fingers gently. Pick up the staff, if you are called, not just for yourself, but for every pilgrim who may follow. The Lakota healer steps forward, her painted drum quiet against her hip. Remember, keeper is not a crown, but a promise, she says, meeting my eyes. In my home, we become guardians by listening before answering. The African diviner casts small stones in a careful arc, voice low. Some burdens choose the one ready to transform, some fade if pushed away. Watch for the sign, each tradition asks its own price. I breathe, uncertainty thick in my chest. It feels too large, I admit, hands trembling. If I take this, who will I be for them? Who will I be for myself? A monk nods, stepping close, incense rising in twin spirals. Only what courage and stillness makes you. No destiny is quiet for long. Her words settle over the gathering. The elders form a circle, shoulders taut as bowstrings. The head monk lays his staff in front of me, tradition passing, not as an order, but as a plea. You may accept, or you may step back. But the shrine's power will shift either way. Sometimes endurance means refusing, sometimes embracing the unknown. The global protectors nod, each holding a token, rose bead, sage feather, inscribed stone, ready to lend whatever ritual courage they can. My gaze circles the gathered faces, worry and encouragement blended in the lamplight. There's a hush, the world's breath drawn and held. I bend, fingers hovering above the lotus floor. In that pause, I see not only the shrine or assembled protectors, but faces of those at a distance, people I've never met, waiting for a new pattern to begin. I lift my eyes, resolve rising through doubt. If I step forward, it won't be as savior or judge. I'll serve with what I am now, so the silence might teach us all. The room holds, every will joined for a flicker of hope. As I cross the final line, incense thick around me, the sigils pulse brighter. The monks, elders, and distant guests offer a bow, not of command, but of acceptance. And in their silent reverence, I feel the weight of both expectation and belonging. For a moment, the shrine itself vibrates, answering a question older than any one voice. Stillness settles over the shrine, deep and unwavering. The air holds its breath as I kneel once more in the circle of rose-gold sigils, palms warm against polished stone. Elders and new protectors look on, their faces open, drawn with equal parts hope and caution. The head monk, holding the staff, inclines his head. Your answer shapes us all. The world's silence, the burden of the shrine. They are yours only if you wish them. His words echo, gentle but expectant. The Sufi braces his beads. The Lakota healer sets her drum gently to the floor. The African diviner holds out an inscribed stone, each gesture a silent offering, a vow of support and witness. My heart pounds. I let the hush wash over me, listening, not only to the night, but for the voices hidden deep beneath. Images flicker, petals drifting through sunlit hallways, the blue glyphs pulsing beneath dust, the warnings and comforts passed down in silence by elders I never knew. I meet the head monk's gaze, breath trembling. I can't promise wisdom or strength, I admit quietly. But I will listen, and I will stay. If the shrine needs a new pattern, let it begin with humility and care. A slight smile lifts the corners of his lips. The floor beneath me hums, a resonance rising, responding to new resolve. The elders bow one by one. The protectors from afar place their tokens side by side before me. Rose bead, inscribed stone, feathers plucked clean with sage. The silence in the chamber flourishes, sudden and alive, as if every unanswered prayer had just been heard. Outside, incense spins twin spirals into the air, caught and scattered by a wind only I seem to feel. Within, the lamplight flickers once, revealing for an instant the shadows of all who've served, failed, and tried again. A monk lays the staff at my feet, not as a demand, but as invitation. In the quiet, we find the next keeper. "Welcome your place," he murmurs, his voice softer than ever. The moment holds, a long exhale for everyone, and for the shrine itself. I bow my head, letting duty, humility, and fresh hope settle as my own. Around me, the world is not changed by noise or glory, but by the courage to say yes when tradition, omen, and destiny all converge. The hush in the heart of the shrine feels endless and deep, a stillness that envelops every watcher, every soul. I remain kneeling in the circle of rose-gold sigils, the memory of vows, mine and those before, heavy in the air. Around me, elders and distant protectors keep careful vigil, their faces framed by the flickering glow of old lamps. Every gaze carries a different hope, a different doubt. The head monk stands over me, his staff's tip pressed softly to the stone at my side. "Not every answer stirs the world," he murmurs, "but courage in silence is always witnessed." He bows low, and the Sufi, the diviner, the healer, all follow, their tokens glinting where they lay. Feather, bead, stone, protection transcribed in every tradition. I close my eyes, letting the quiet settle into my skin, into the marrow of my resolve. Across the sanctum, a lantern reignites with a sudden emerald glow, casting a gentle light on a carved mask, its cheeks streaked as if with ancient tears. Above, a gust finds the incense, sending a thin line of twin spirals up toward the altar, the fragrance cool and full of longing. A vision stirs, protectors past, shadows soft, pressing warm hands to my shoulder. Their presence is not command, but comfort, a transmission of humility and undying resilience. "Listen well. Serve simply," the whisper comes, half thought, half blessing. One by one, the monks adapt. A new chant, woven from older prayers, shapes the silence into something vibrant. No bells, no clash, only the deep chorus of breath, hope, and hard-won peace. The head monk looks to me a final time, a smile glinting. "Tonight, you have given the world a new way to listen." I bow, low and steady, accepting the invitation, the weight, and the promise. The hush in that sacred place feels less empty, more alive, as if the courage to change has its own sound, waiting in every silent, beating heart. Dawn seeps quietly through the mountain mist, brushing the shrine's rooftops with pale gold. Silence still lingers, gentle but charged. I rise from the sanctuary floor, every joint sore with the gravity of new vows. The great bell stands in its tower, draped in silk, unrung, yet somehow vibrant, humming with the residue of everything unspoken. Outside, scattered petals, fresh where no hand placed them, carpet the steps. Pilgrims begin to arrive, pausing at the threshold, some awed, some uncertain. The monks move among them, not calling for prayer or procession, but inviting a hush to settle. The head monk steps forward, his cane tapping softly on stone. "We greet a new morning," he proclaims, voice unforced but steady, not with sound, but with breath. "This day, silence is our offering." A young child kneels by the bell, dusting it with fingers, waiting for a chime that won't come. Yet all around, renewal glimmers, flowers blooming in untended corners, faint gold dust sparkling as sunlight finally catches the last mist above the Torre arches. Prayer flags, bright with promises old and new, hang motionless in the strange quiet, as if absorbing the world's stories. One visiting protector ties a thread of blue beside the altar, voice low. Our lands will know your silence, a lesson we carry home. A novice monk whispers in wonder, the bell rested, yet the mountain answers. I stand at the center, humbled to simply witness, unity formed in the hush, courage found in restraint, and a tradition born not in the echo of brass, but in the space where hearts listen together. A hush, unbroken but alive, becomes the ritual. Pilgrims and monks gather in the silence, eyes bright, breath held as if uncertain whether to pray or simply be. The head monk, once stern, now softer but sure, nods to the crowd. To listen is our greatest act, he says. And so, in the stillness, the shrine awakes, transformed, not by sound, but by a quiet power that will ripple far beyond these sacred stones. What ritual or symbol from your culture would you offer for protection or awakening? Suggest yours in the comments. The stone path winds away behind me as I descend from the shrine's gate, morning sun just lifting the mist beyond the ridge. My hand closes around the spiral-shaped pendant still warm in my palm, a silent token pressed to me in the lamplight, meant for both memory and responsibility. Each breath feels like a vow, not to keep the silence only for myself, but to let its lesson ripple outward, gently and unseen. In the villages below, word spreads of the bell's hush, and those who have waited at the world's edge begin to listen with new reverence. In markets, teachers, merchants, and wanderers carry fragments of last night's story, some holding stillness as shelter, others as invitation. Far beyond, in cities and distant valleys, others mirror the gesture, pausing at temple doors, drawing a simple spiral in the dust, lighting a single candle with no chant but hope. I walk beneath a willow's long shadow, footsteps softer than ever, and sense that the bells, though unmoved, still echo in every soul awake to this uncommon courage. Each person who glimpses the pendant, each person who remembers silence as offering, joins in the legacy now set in motion, to protect, sometimes by surrendering sound, sometimes by listening past old fears. A hush lingers, like the faint memory of a bell's echo, never heard, but always felt. In that listening, secret truths stir. Not every guardian comes with fanfare. Not every awakening requires words. Sometimes the bravest gift is the courage to be still and to meet the world's question with a heart willing to wait. If this journey moved you, subscribe for more mysteries and answer. When the world asks for silence, what truth stirs inside you?